It's funny that now that President Trump is no longer president, you have the Democrat and people that, for whatever reason, hate Trump is still talking about Trump. You would think that they would be happy and content with controlling the House, the Senate, and the White House. But they're not. They cannot hold the conversation without bringing up President Trump. I was listening to an interview on Hot 97 that Ebro had with Arsenio Hall. And Ebro had to bring up white supremacy. He was speaking briefly about white supremacy, and then he mentioned President Trump as being a white supremacist. So that put the thought in my mind. I was born in Pahokee, Florida, which is in Palm Beach County, South Florida. I was born in 1960 during the Civil Rights Movement, when white supremacy and racism was real in the South. And now I'm hearing people talk about white supremacy like it's a new thing. And they're making President Trump the face of white supremacy. This is what the Democrats have done. But don't realize the fact that the Democratic Party started the Klan movement, the KKK, the same people that burn crosses in front of the homes of black people, the same people that lynched the so-called black people, the same people that enslaved the so-called black people. You have Hillary Clinton that is in favor of Margaret Sanger's dreams of exterminating black people like weed. She's fully in support of the abortion clinic, Planned Parenthood. You have Biden that's responsible for the crime bill, locked up a lot of black people. White supremacy. Kamala Harris, that's not a black woman, had locked up a lot of black people pushing white supremacy. But for some reason, the so-called black people had forgiven those white supremacists, and now are pointing fingers at Trump that's not a white supremacist. Now, I grew up with racist and white supremacists, and none of the ones that I've met in my lifetime had ever fought so hard to help the so-called black people, even if they were running for political office. Not one. Trump has done more for black people than any other president that ever took office in this nation. But yet he's labeled as a white supremacist by black people. So I'm puzzled, and I want to put a question out there, and I'm hoping that someone would give me an intelligent answer, shed some light on this confusing issue. Why is one white supremacist forgiven and the other one is not forgiven? Why do you forgive Hillary Clinton Bill Clinton, Joe Biden, the Democrat Party, Dylann Roof, because if you remember, the black people in the South where that occurred forgave Dylann Roof for coming in, shooting up the place. And the sad part about that was he didn't even ask for forgiveness. But they volunteered forgiveness. Make sense of that. But yet President Trump has never showed any signs of white supremacy. The only thing he talked about was making America great, but yet the so-called black people, the Democrats, interpreted that as he wanting to make America white again. That made no sense to me, because then you turned around and voted for the real white supremacists, because you see Joe Biden and Kamala Harris made a whole lot of promises. And the minute he took office, the first thing he did was put Americans out of work. His target is illegal immigrants. That's where your tax dollars are going. But yet you support him. But yet you hate Trump. So when it comes to white supremacy, if Trump is a white supremacist, and we know just by history, it's documented, that the Democrat Party is the party of slavery and of the Klan members, but yet you forgive them, you say that was the past, and then all someone have to do is say, I'm sorry, I apologize, and not mean it, and you will forgive them. You will take their word. So what's the difference between the Democrat Party that have a proven track record of racism and discrimination? What's the difference between them and President Trump? Why is one forgiven and the other one is so despised to the point where you had to get him out of office? You just had to get him out of office. There's black people that could not sleep out of fear of President Trump being in office. You had black people believing that Trump was going to put them back into slavery. But yet you don't fear the white supremacists that's controlling you, the ones that's putting you out of business, the one that's putting you out of work, the ones that want you dependent upon the government. It's like setting up a mouse trap. You set the cheese in the trap. The mouse have no idea, does not have the intelligence to know that danger is ahead. The only thing he can see is that cheese. And right now, the cheese that the Democrat Party are pushing and used as a leverage to be voted, because Joe Biden stood up and says, listen, I'll give you guys $2,000 if you vote for me. Vote for me and I'll give you $2,000. And black people voted for him. And just about every day on social media, I'm hearing black people wondering and asking, when will they get that stimulus? That's the only thing they can see, is that cheese sitting in the trap. As a matter of fact, I'm going to title this video, White Supremacy versus White Supremacy, Cheese in the Trap. The only thing they can see is the cheese in the trap, but don't know that once they grab that cheese, your neck is about to be snapped in half. So I don't expect this video to remain on YouTube, Because YouTube is a part, social media is a part of this whole white supremacy agenda that you can't see because they're hiding their hands. There's a saying that the greatest trick that the devil pulled is to convince the world that he don't exist. The devil don't exist to a lot of y'all. You now think you're safe, but don't realize that there is approaching danger to this nation. So, in case YouTube removes this video and gives me a strike, I invite you to follow me on Odyssey, because what Odyssey does is every time I upload a video to YouTube, it automatically uploads that video to Odyssey. So when YouTube remove it, it's still on Odyssey. And I'm going to put the link on the bottom. Also, go to Spreaker and follow me on Spreaker. That's where you find all of my videos, the audio videos like this one. Or go to my WordPress page, which is on the bottom in the description box. This video would also be on WordPress. So feedback, tell me what you think, subscribe, click on the Cash App, and donate to the channel. Until next time, I'm fearless.